few of you sent me messages asking me what were the settings that I use on my GoPro when biking and whether or not I use the standard factory settings. So the answer is no, I do not use the standard factory settings. Actually, I would say that I do customize my setting quite extensively. So I decided to make this quick video, and I'm just going to run you through the setting that I use on my GoPro when biking.
Don't force me out of bed in your society. Don't push me down the road you're playing down. Don't try to fix my head.
The first thing I do when customizing my GoPro is to customize the shortcut function. In the main screen, you have 4 shortcut buttons, and each one of them is customizable to your liking. That enables you to quickly access functions which you use frequently without having to go into the bowel of the setting menu. The factory setting calls for 2 of those shortcut buttons to be. One is going to be the zoom function, and the other one is going to be the slow-mo function. I personally do not care about those 2 functions. I never use them. So I replace those functions by one is going to be the exposure comp shortcut button, and the other one I'm going to replace it by the white balance shortcut button. The exposure comp function allows me to quickly fine-tune the exposure based on the lighting condition of the day, and the white balance function allows me to quickly adjust the image quality based on the weather condition of the day, depending on whether I want it a little warmer or a little cooler. As to the other 2 factory setting shortcuts, one is going to be the hyper smooth, and the other one is going to be the lens selection function. Those 2 I like. I use them regularly, and therefore I don't touch them. There are 2 ways to customize the shortcut buttons. One, you can do it directly from the main screen, and the other one, you have to do it from the settings menu. Now I'm going to show you both ways. If you want to customize the buttons directly from the main screen, all you have to do is long press on the shortcut button that you want to replace, and a slider is going to appear. If you move the slider up or down, you're going to see that all the different options that are available. So you're going to set it to the option you want. In my case, it was the white balance, so I'm going to put it back to the white balance. We can see white balance right here, and then you just click on the screen, and you're going to have the shortcut of your selection. The second thing I do when customizing my GoPro is to create my own preset. As you can see here, it shows up on the screen. This is the preset that I've created, that it's called bike. So that's easy to do. You just press on the preset button. You're going to have the preset menu is going to appear. You scroll to the bottom. You're going to see a plus sign. You just click on the plus sign, create a new preset, call it whatever you want. In my case, I've called it bike, and then you can set it up to your liking. So let's go now and look at how I've set up my new preset. I would recommend you use 4K 24p or 4K 30p. I would not recommend you use more than that. If you do, it's going to increase the shutter speed, and the GoPro will compensate by pumping up the ISO, and that in turn will deteriorate your image quality. As far as lens, I put it on wide. I do not like super wide. I find that super wide distorts the image way too much to my liking, so I put it on wide. With regard to hyper smooth, I set it on boost. With regard to the low light, I turn it off. I do not trust the GoPro to set it up in low light, and on top of that, I only use my GoPro on my bike during the day, so I rarely, actually I don't think I've ever used the low light option. The zoom, I set it to 1.0. Clips, I set it to off. Clips is an option that allows you to shoot a very quick video of a predetermined length, like 10 or 15 seconds, just by pressing the record button. I don't care about that function. I don't use that function. I've set it up to off. Let's scroll down and look at the other settings. With regard to the bit rate, I've set it to high. Now make sure that if you do that, you have the proper SD card. The files will be larger if you do that, and it will require a larger SD card. Shutter, I set it to auto. EV comp, I set it to minus 0.5. I find that the exposure comp on the GoPro is a little overexposed as per the factory setting. I tone it down just a bit. White balance, I like it at 5000K, but that's a question of personal preference. If you like it warmer, meaning a little more yellowish, it would go up from there. And if you like it a little cooler or a little more bluish, you would go down from there. ISO minimum, I set it at 100, and ISO max, I set it at 3200. Now, a lot of people are going to say, and I'm going to tell you, that you should not exceed 1600 for ISO max, because that's the limitation of the GoPro. And I do agree with that. However, I would prefer to be the one to decide whether a clip is usable or not, give the opportunity of the GoPro to pump the ISO a little more. On top of that, I believe I may be able to adjust it in post-production rather than limit the GoPro at a hard set 1600. Sharpness, I set it to low. I don't want the GoPro to add too much sharpness. On top of that, again, I believe that the factory settings are a little too much sharpness and it makes the image look unnatural. I prefer to do the sharpness myself in post-production. Color, I choose the flat option. That will require that you do some grading in post, but it's very easy to do. All it requires is a little saturation and a little bit of contrast, and you are set, and it gives you more dynamic range, which I like. As to the raw audio function, I set it to on with low, and what that means is that the GoPro will create a second audio file. In addition to the audio file that's attached to the video, it will create a wave audio file, which then you can play with in post-production, and low means that it will apply very little processing. The win function, I set it to off. This will absolutely ruin your audio. The win function of the GoPro is absolutely useless and terrible. I never use it. And with regard to the microphone, I set to stereos. Now the shortcut, I told you earlier on that there was two ways to set the shortcut button in the main menu. And the first way we saw it is directly by long pressing in the main menu. The second way to do it is by doing in the setting button, and you can set here which shortcut you want on the lower left, on the lower right, on the upper left, on the upper right. And here, if you want to set a function, you will just click on it. The sliders that we saw in the main menu appear. You can make your selection. I'm going to put it back to EV comp, which is what I want. And you are set. So that's my biking setup, and that's how I have customized my GoPro.